I didn't just actually wake up here one morning. I mean, there was a lot that. I can't believe it's been 2 years. I can't believe I've been living out of the United States in Bali for 2 years now. I used to be so scared of change. I stayed in a relationship for like almost 2 extra years after I decided I wasn't happy because I was scared of what my life would look like when I was single again. I was so scared to move out of the United States, even though I knew that it had been a goal of mine since I was 12 years old. And I was good at making new friends. I was still terrified to do this. I used to be so afraid of making the wrong decision in big and small ways in my life. And now all of a sudden I blink and I am celebrating 2 years that I've been living in Bali full time, working online, running my own business. I have the most amazing friends. I live such an amazing, beautiful life that nourishes my physical and my mental wellness so much. And I'm so happy. And I'm so excited to share this conversation with you because I didn't just actually wake up here one morning. I mean, there was a lot that. Oh, fucking hell. There was a lot that went into this change in my life, and I want to share that with you. And I disclaimer right now that it's not going to be a video on how to book a plane ticket and the visas in Bali because there's so much of that content online if you want to move to Bali, if you want to just move out of the States anywhere else. Someone else has already answered those logistical questions. That's not what I'm here to talk about because somebody can give you all of that information and you still won't do it if you don't feel ready. And although I don't believe that there's a point where you're perfectly prepared and ready to go and it makes everything easy, it's always challenging to change your life. I want to talk about the self trust and the faith in yourself that making a major life change, like moving out of the country or leaving a relationship you're not happy in or changing jobs, what that takes. Because I know so many people who have asked me, how did you move to Bali? And I've answered these questions about visas and about where to live and about how to drive a motorbike and learning how to do that and how to make new friends and all of these things. But you won't even get there in the first place if you don't have the courage and the self trust to go. And so I want to tell you about how I actually created that because I used to not have that. I used to be so anxious that I like wouldn't drive a car because if I had to drive farther than 15 minutes to the grocery store and that drive took more than like one left turn because I didn't want to have to turn into traffic, I wouldn't drive. Like I used to not leave the house because I was so anxious and now I've left my home country and I live such an adventurous social life. And so I used to not always be this way. And it wasn't this overnight change that got me to have the confidence and the self trust to make big life changes. And I think that one of the misconceptions people have is that it's just a life change that's reserved for people who are especially bold or courageous or confident, or they just know something that you don't or have something you don't have. And it's just not the case. Like it really just comes down to knowing what you don't know and then filling the gaps. And so that's what I'm going to tell you about. If you don't know me already, I'm Sarah. I'm self employed. I am a life coach. I've been doing this for at least 4 years now. I think 4 full years this month. I'm 26 years old, so as soon as I graduated college, I didn't pursue the degree that I had spent $30,000 on, and I got my coaching certification, and everything else is self-taught or taught from masterminds, business coaching programs, teacher trainings, course investments that I've made in my life. But long story short, I didn't go the traditional route post grad that a lot of the people around me went. And I remember being so different from other people in that way because I just never wanted to work a 9 to 5. I didn't want to do it, so I wouldn't do it. And I'm so stubborn like that. But at this time in my life, I was so deep in hustle culture, like just feeling like, oh, if I just work overtime for the next 10 years and save every penny, feel guilty anytime I spend money on myself or on anything, I'll eventually have financial freedom. That'll give me time freedom. Then I can find a career that I love. I felt really lost in like what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. And then I was also really deep in diet culture too. So if you're more familiar with my content, all of my coaching started with body image coaching and food freedom and intuitive eating and mental wellness and holistic wellness and helping people have body confidence. And that's still a huge part of my work. But I was so deep in the diet culture as well. And I was constantly trying to be perfect and productive and hustle and work out every single day and eat perfectly and all of this other stuff. Like that was the mindset that I used to be in, that where I felt just exhausted and burnt out all the time. Like I was constantly thinking like, why am I not happy if I'm doing everything right? Or I was constantly thinking like, am I the only human who doesn't have the time and energy to do all of these things that I should be doing? Like I felt like I was the problem, because who has the energy to work out 6 days a week, work a full-time or overtime job that you hate, still have a social life, still take care of yourself, still have hobbies, still be personally developing? Like it was exhausting. And on top of that, if you have people that you support, if you have a family, if you have any sort of hardship in your life, like I have a chronic illness, it was just, I was so incredibly burnt out and overwhelmed 24/7. My nervous system was just like shot, like just so overwhelmed. And the system that I was in, which was diet culture, patriarchy, capitalism, hustle culture, what I call to most people, because most of my friends here are not from America, from the United States. They're from all over the world, and they have this really different perspective of the United States because they've always been on the outside looking in, and so much of our media is centered around it. The way I explain this to them is I call it the fucked up American dream. Like, if you, or the lie of the American dream, if you just work hard enough and do everything perfectly, you'll have everything you want. And instead of giving you everything you want and happiness and freedom, you get eating disorders and total burnout and depression and anxiety. Like I had all of these things. So that's where I was when I started this whole process. The thing that I never hear people talk about when they talk about making big life changes, for me, that was moving out of the country. It was also starting my business, right? And also like not having an eating disorder anymore, like being an intuitive eater, being someone who supports like food freedom and body neutrality. That's also a major life change. It's different from anything I had ever been taught before. Oh, it's gotten a little dark with the clouds. It is a beautiful sunny day here. I am like in a bathing suit and I have a towel around my waist because I was in the cold plunge before this because it's so hot every single day. Good problem to have, right? I'll take that over the cold, rainy, gray days that my mom is texting me about right now at the end of February. But anyway, what I don't hear people talk about online is the small steps that you need to take in order to make the big life change. Like we see the dream, whatever it is for you. For me, that was not living in the United States and not working a job for somebody else. I'm too stubborn for that shit. I had passions that I wanted to pursue, which is helping other people have an amazing, beautiful, happy life, whatever that means to them. We see it as this mountain, right? Like you want to get to the peak of the mountain. You want to get to the top and you're at the bottom. The problem we have is that we don't see the path along the way. And so if you're at the bottom and you're looking at the top, of course your thought is like, how do I get there? There's no way to get there. It's impossible to get there. But you see other people on the top and they're waving at you, they're smiling, they're being like, babe, life is better over here, come on over. And you're like, yeah, but I can't. Like, you can do it. There's something special. Maybe they've got really long legs. Maybe they've got a jetpack that shot them to the top. Maybe they've got family money that got them there, whatever. We tell ourselves these stories of like, they have something I don't. It's not something I can have. And therefore, I'll stay down here and I'll watch them at the top and I'll cry about it and I'll be sad. And that's how I felt for so long because I felt so stuck. I felt so trapped. Now picture this. You're at the bottom of the mountain. I hope you're a visual learner like me. You're at the bottom of the mountain. You see your friends or the people you wish you were friends with, you want to be like, who have what you want, at the top, waving to you, smiles on their faces because they're not miserable anymore. And then the clouds part, and there's stairs. And maybe there's a lot of stairs. And maybe you're like, oh my God, I've not been hitting legs hard enough to make it up these stairs. But there's stairs. And that's the thing, babe. There's always stairs. But if you don't know where to look for them, like where they are or what they are, these steps you have to take. That's all stairs are, is one step at a time. Gets you to where you need to be, even if it's a little bit boring sometimes. If you don't know where the staircase is, if you don't know where the trailhead is in our little analogy of this mountain, how the hell are you going to take the stairs? So, let me tell you what those stairs are for me. Again, we're talking about how I moved out of my home country, moved to a place where I knew one person. She's amazing, but she was literally there for 3 weeks in Bali when I arrived, and then she left. I essentially knew no one. I knew nothing. Not the language, not the currency, not how my taxes work when I'm not in my home country. I had some savings, but not a crazy amount. I didn't have external support financially. I had a little bit of external support emotionally, but not from anyone who had ever done something like this before. It was really hard for me to see what those stairs were to get to where I wanted to be. But it didn't change the fact that I wanted to get there, and I knew I had to get there, because the thing that people don't admit is that if you have this feeling that you are meant to be living a different life, if there is a happier version of you out there doing something else, that feeling is not going away. It's not. It'll be there in 10 years. It'll be there in 40 years. The number one thing I tell clients, because I work with clients in my life coaching who are, I have as young as like 14, 15, their parents send them my way, and I have people in their 60s. With my older clients, let's say like 30 plus, which is still super young, but especially my clients in their 50s and 60s, the number one thing I hear is, I wish I had made this change sooner. That's what I help people do. So it's amazing to help them tackle their fears and find these find the path, find these steps. But it's heartbreaking because I can't give them that time back. So know that the feeling doesn't go away. It needs to happen. Maybe it's not going to happen exactly how you picture it, because you don't, again, know the steps to get there. And as you uncover the steps, you'll change the vision. But there's a happier version of you out there. They exist. It doesn't go away. So these were my steps. I'm trying to make a major life change of getting out of my comfort zone. Literally living on the other side of the world. Like, if you don't know where Bali is, it's in Indonesia. If you don't know where Indonesia is, it's Southeast Asia. If you don't know where Southeast Asia is, it is like west of Australia, south of China. I didn't know that before I came here. It is the other side of the planet, geographically, but also in so many other ways. I just took a bunch of steps to get me here. And for me, those steps were things like being from Massachusetts in the United States. If you're familiar with it, it looks and feels and is a certain way. So I slowly started getting out of that comfort zone. And again, we're talking through the lens of moving out of your home country, but if you want to make a career change, a relationship change, just liken this to whatever you're trying to do. This is a very tangible example. So I basically kept getting farther and farther from home for longer and longer amounts of time. So it started with taking, like, once a year, I took like a 3 to 7 day hiking trip. And at first it was places I could drive, and then it was places I had to fly. And at first I went with friends because I didn't want to be alone. And then after a while I started going alone. And then it was 2 weeks instead of one. And then it was 6 weeks instead of one. And after 6 weeks in Arizona, which is like my favorite state to hike in the US, I was like, I can do this. I've done it for more than a month now. I can do this. And so I was closer and closer to being ready to go somewhere else. I was also leaving a relationship at this time. I was in a relationship for 4 years. I knew that I wasn't happy for probably at least 18 months. And he was a great guy, just like not the guy for me. And I knew that for probably half the relationship. I was able to acknowledge it, like, hey, babe, this isn't for you. You're not happy, for probably 18 months. And I took some steps to try and resurrect that, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. It's okay. And so I started taking more and more steps, essentially to be ready to leave. If you know that Taylor Swift song that's like, "You're losing me," and then I think she has another one that kind of like, oh no, it's in the song itself. It's her and I think Bon Iver's part is like, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Bon Iver's part is like there were no signs, but she's saying like there were so many signs. Like I look back on that relationship and I remember when I broke up with him, the first thing he said to me was, I just never thought you'd actually do it. And I was like, I've been flat out telling you that I'm not happy and I want to leave this relationship if it doesn't change. It wasn't a threat, it was just a true fact for months. There were so many signs, but I had been taking those steps, right? So these hiking trips were one of them, me getting farther and farther from home. I was also acquiring new skills. So if you want to move countries, you got to make money. You either got to figure out the visas. So the steps might be just doing research, or meeting people or messaging random people on Instagram that have lived the life you have. Like I messaged a bunch of people graduating college that were doing what I wanted to do. And I was like, hey, you have the kind of job I want, but I don't even know what that job is. Like, what do you do and how did you do it? And so many people pointed me towards a health coaching certification that's what I did. I just asked people who had what I wanted. Maybe that's the steps you're taking sometimes. And then you realize, okay, I need to do this certification. I need to save this much money. I need to get out of this relationship. This is what's going to make me feel comfortable doing that. And you do it. And like I told you, I know this is a ramble. I know this is a rant, but I'm trying to explain the last like 4 years of my life to you, 2 of them being the incredible, amazing life I live now. It's not about taking the perfect steps. It's about taking steps. Like, please just start. One of my friends said this to me like half an hour ago because I was procrastinating starting this video, like filming it because I had to set a bunch of stuff up. She was like, just start, babe, just start. You just need to start. You don't need to do it perfect. And I actually believe, as a former like toxic perfectionist, high achiever, overachiever, I always got perfect grades in school, not because I loved learning, but because I needed to be perfect. Over planning is self-sabotage. So you actually do not need to do it perfect at all. You just need to be doing it. One of my friends, Mary Jalkovsky, I went on a retreat that she hosted a couple of years ago in Costa Rica. It would change my life. And I think it was her, maybe someone on the retreat, but they were like, just take messy action. And it was like mind blowing for so many of us because it was so hard to imagine doing stuff without doing it perfectly. Like this is all I'm telling you, is to figure out what the steps are, and they can be so small. Like it might just be learning how to spend more time alone. That's what I did those 6 weeks in Arizona. I learned how to go out to dinner alone. I learned how to go to the movies alone. There's actually an hour-long masterclass on my channel that I taught after that experience. So if that's one of the things you need to do, is get more comfortable with yourself and spending time alone. I used to block my planner every minute of the day so that I never had to be alone or never had to be just like sitting with myself. That masterclass is everything I learned of like years worth, and you should go watch that. I think it's called Solo Self-Care. At least that's what's either on the thumbnail or in the title. And I think the title is probably just like how to do more stuff alone. It's probably from a year or 2 years ago now, but it's amazing. It's evergreen. It is so good. But anyway, long story short, the main reason that you're still stuck is because you're scared. You're scared to either take messy action, or you are scared that you'll make the wrong decisions, or you're scared that it won't work out. And like, babe, it will definitely not work out if you never let yourself try. Like, not trying because you're afraid to fail is a 100% guaranteed failure. Whereas if you try, there's at least a 1% chance you'll succeed, and it's probably a much, much, much higher percentage. Just figure out how to slowly get farther and farther out of your comfort zone. You know what your comfort zone is, and you know that you're not happy there. And then slowly get farther and farther out. As you do this, your brain is going to try and convince you to stay stuck, because we don't like getting out of our comfort zone because our comfort zone keeps us safe. Even if it's not happy, even if it's not safe physically or emotionally, it's safe in the sense that it's familiar, and so we know that we can survive it. But do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? Your brain will tell you, oh my God, if you move somewhere else, you won't make any friends. Oh my God, if you quit your job, you'll never get another one. Not true. Not true. Oh my God, if you quit your job and you don't get another one for 6 months, you'll end up on the streets. Like, please don't quit your job until you have like a little bit of a savings, or like are able to ask for support from other people. But like, We catastrophize the fuck out of everything we do, and it drives us insane. And it keeps us stuck. And it's just a self defense mechanism, but it is not one that is serving you anymore. You learn to talk to yourself like that, to operate out of fear a long time ago when fear was the only thing that could keep you safe. But now you have other things to keep you safe. You have a job, you have money, you have people you can rely on, you have skills, you have knowledge, you have books, you have so many things that can elevate your life if you use them strategically. And it's okay to do that. So, you don't have to move abroad. You don't have to leave your relationship. You don't have to change your job. You just need to start listening to what's calling you. For me, that was living in a bathing suit in Southeast Asia, meeting amazing people who are also entrepreneurs and value health and wellness the same way that I do. That's my own version of the dream. You need to find some clarity on what the dream is for you. This is what I help people do because it's hard to do that on your own. So I always do consultations. If you want to schedule one, I'm not going to make you, but I will always accept it. I would love that. And then you need to start taking those small steps. I build that path with my clients, again, because it's hard to do alone. I have had hundreds of clients because it is so common to want to change your life and to not know how to do it, especially in capitalism, hustle culture. I'm trying to think of the words. Capitalism, hustle culture, patriarchy, toxic productivity is what I would call that, and the fucked up American dream. Question all the shoulds in your life and ask yourself, like, who benefits from you staying stuck? The answer is almost always other people. It's the partner that doesn't treat you good, or the employer that actually doesn't give a fuck about you, or the parents who like to control you, or your fear self, the fear side of you. It doesn't usually benefit your highest self. So, I didn't have a roadmap. I definitely didn't have a perfect roadmap. I just took one step at a time, and that's all you need to do. It's all you need to do. I know it's hard to see where you'll be 2 years from now, just like it's so hard for me to be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's been 2 years that I've been here and I've been so happy and living my dream. But oh my God, I just took one step at a time, and it is that mountain. Like, now I look back, I'm not on the summit in the sense that I won't go higher, but I am definitely at a peak. And I am looking down at that view of the last 2 years of my life. Let's call it 3 because of all the times leading up to it. And oh my God, is the view amazing. But I took one step at a time. No one gave me a helicopter to the top. I wish. That's not really how it works, and that's okay. So, if you want more content on breaking free from these systems, breaking out of your own fear or negative mindset or anxiety or lack of self-confidence, like, that is my bread and butter. That's what I do. Make sure you subscribe. Please leave me a comment. If you have more specific questions about Bali or moving abroad or working online, I do answer some of those. I will answer them from the perspective of, like, here's how to figure out what your ideal is, not so much like exactly how I live my life, because everyone is different and you want to live a life that's aligned to you. But you can leave a comment, you can message me on Instagram, you can send me an email if you want to book a consultation and talk to me more about how I coach people to make these life changes. And again, it's not all about leaving the country, it's just about finding the life that is the most ideal for you. And I would really love to hear what resonated most with you. What is your dream? And what is the mountain ahead of you? And how are you going to take the first steps to get there? Okay. I love you. I'll see you next time.